What's going on, guys? I came out today to set up a set of big eyes. These are the Swarovski STS 80s, and because I don't always have these scopes and this setup available, I thought I would take advantage of it and compare them to the other sets of big eyes I offer. All 7 of these sets are available on my website, and I'm going to give you a few details for each one, hopefully answer those questions that you guys have. So let's start off with these Maven S2s. Now these Maven S2s are the smallest set of big eyes that I offer. These are only 5 pounds. They get down to 2 3/8 minimum pupillary distance. It's a 55 millimeter objective, and it's a variable eyepiece, 12 to 27. And you can notice that these eyepieces are relatively small. It's really similar to glassing with your binoculars. So it's a comfortable setup, easy to pack, lightweight set of big eyes, the Maven S2s. Next up, we have these Vortex razors. Now these ones are also just 5 pounds. These have a 13 to 39 variable with a 55 millimeter objective. And you'll probably notice on these ones, I've removed this rubber armor off these focusing knobs. I did that because I wanted to see how small or how narrow I could get these things. So if you do remove some rubber, you can get these down to 2.5 inches, which is a pretty comparable minimum pupillary distance as the rest of the big eyes. So 55 millimeter objective, 13 to 39 variable, Vortex razors. Next up, we have these Swarovski STCs. Now these ones are the first set of compacts I made last year. These are the 56 millimeter objective, 17 to 40 variable eyepieces. Now out of the box, these ones will go down to 2 9/16 minimum pupillary distance. I do have some customers that have cut some armor off these things to get them a little bit closer. They got them down to around 2.5 inches with some modifications. But out of the box, 2 9/16. These are going to weigh just about 6 pounds. So they're super narrow, slim, lightweight set of compacts. Next up, I have these Kowa TSN 55S compacts. Now these are the newest of the compacts. I made them this year, and they've been probably the most popular since I've come out with them. They are a 55 millimeter objective, so comparable to the STCs. They are 17 to 40 variable, which is the same as the STCs. They're a little bit wider setup. These look a little bit more streamlined. But because of the way the Kowas are mounted, they actually get narrower. So this minimum pupillary distance is 2 3/8, while this is going to be 2 9/16. Both of those are without modifications. So if you need to get into a narrower set, this might be the one to look at. Comparable objectives, side by side, I would say that the clarity is equal. I've had some customers tell me they think the Kowa wins, others say the STC wins, but I think they're so close that it's going to be up to the individual. The Kowa TSN 55S compacts. These ones also weigh 6 pounds, so the same weight as the STCs, very comparable in size. Next to the 55s, we have the Kowa 66s. Now this is the scope that was discontinued about a year ago. This is the TSN 664, but they still have stock on these scopes. So I went ahead and I made another round of adapters. I'm going to start offering these things again. So even though the scope was discontinued, we can still get our hands on it. So this is a 66 millimeter with a 30 fixed eyepiece. Now Kowa does offer a variable eyepiece for these, a 20 to 60. So what I do with this setup is I give you one extra 20 to 60 variable. So the scopes will come with 30 fixed. And then what I do is if I need to get a better look at something, I'll actually switch out that eyepiece with the variable. I find that the 20 to 60 variable is not as clear as the 30, so I prefer the 30s when I'm glassing, but I also like to have that variable with me if I need to get a better look at something. So 66 millimeters with 30 fixed and an extra 20 to 60 variable. These are going to be just under 7 pounds. These are about 6.5 pound setup. Next are these Swarovski STS 65s. So anyone who's familiar with big eyes is probably familiar with this setup. This is one of the original sets that we made years ago. So this is a 25 to 50 eyepiece on a 65 millimeter objective, and they're just over 7 pounds. So these eyepieces are the wide angles, the 25 to 50s. You can get these with the 20 to 60 eyepieces. They work really well also. These are just going to be a wide angle, 25 to 50. I prefer this setup if you can get them, but if you have the 20 to 60, that's a really good setup as well. So 65 millimeter objective, maybe a pound heavier than the 66s, but with some variable eyepieces. So a really cool setup. Next are these STS 80s. Now these 80s are going to have the same eyepiece as the 65s. These are the 25 to 50s. The backside of these 80s are almost identical to the 65s. The objectives on these are obviously larger. That's the 80 millimeter objective. But the footprint of these big eyes is about the same as the 65s, believe it or not. About the same width, the same length, so they're not that much larger. They are about a half a pound heavier, but again, 25 to 50 variable, wide angle eyepiece, and the 80 millimeter objectives, so they're going to be a touch brighter than the 65s. And my personal opinion is the brighter the setup, the clearer the setup. So this set is going to be a little brighter and a little clearer than this set. Same eyepieces, bigger objectives. So that's all 7 sets of big eyes. These 3 larger sets and the 4 compacts. Now the most common question I get on these compacts is, are they adjustable? The way the compacts work, they've got 4 bolts on the bottom, and those bolts are what let these compact scopes slide in and out. So you'll adjust these for your pupillary distance, you'll lock them down, and they're only set for you. Whereas the larger sets of big eyes, these scopes actually rotate. So you sit down to use these, and you can rotate these in and out and adjust the pupillary distance based on the user. So if you want to share them with your kids or your spouse or your hunting partners, you can rotate these ones. But with these compacts, they're going to be set up for you and you only. Now, as far as a tripod, for these compacts, I'm running this Sirui VA5X head, and I'm running on these ST124 legs. Now, I think that's a pretty good setup for these compacts. These guys are 6 pounds or less, and this setup works really well for these lightweight compacts. When I get to the larger big eyes, these 66s, 65s, and 80s, I run this VH10 head. I put that on these ST224 legs. It's a little bit bigger of a setup, but it holds these bigger sets of big eyes a lot more secure, especially if it's windy. So VH10 heads, ST224 legs, and on these compacts, I'm running these VA5 heads on these 124 legs. So as you can see, there's a lot of choices when it comes to big eyes. And even though I get asked all the time, which set is the best, I really don't have an answer. I don't think there's one best set of big eyes. I think there's the best set of big eyes for you. Whether you want lightweight, compact, easy to backpack, or you want the biggest and the baddest, there's a set for you. So if you have any questions about them, you can reach out to me on my website, adamsadapters.com. You can send me an email from there, or you can message me here on Instagram, and I can help you answer any questions you may have. Thanks, guys.